Hey folks, it's Rob, and welcome back. We're continuing our series on the Monstrous Compendium Appendix for the Mystara setting from 1994's TSR. It is finally page 122, and spoiler, this is our last monster in the book. But it is not our last page, but it is our last monster. And uh, here we have a garishly dressed person with blue skin who's clearly had far too much colloidal silver in his diet. He's got kind of claw-like nails. You can just barely see if you go looking. The whole image is, I'm afraid, a bit faded. He's actually wearing a shirt underneath the jacket, so that you have this like shirt here, but it's unfortunately also blue, just like his face and legs are, and hands. So do you wear a shirt the same color as your skin color? I guess if you wear beige, or maybe you wear some other color. I don't know, but it kind of gets a little lost in the composition, right? And he's garish to start with, but the fading makes it seem a bit more ghostly or just green shoes, purple outfit, yellow accents, blue shirt, a feather of each color in his hat. Certainly a dandy or a fop, right? But let's get into it. So these are lightning zombies, or zombie, lightning. And these are from the Wrath of the Immortal set. That's why you're probably not familiar with these from a module. Climate terrain. So they come in lesser and greater flavors. So there's going to be some similarity because these are found from the same source. But climate terrain, mountains in both cases, they are both very rare. They are solitary. They have an activity cycle of any. They don't have a diet. Intelligence vary at 11 to 12. Slightly more intelligent than the average NPC humanoid. Treasure Q for the lesser and Q times 2 for the greater. The lesser is neutral in alignment and purely neutral, by the way. While the greater is chaotic evil. For the lesser, 2d6 appear, while the greater is a solitary 1. Armor class is 8 for the lesser and 6 for the greater. Movement, 9 for the lesser. So, a bit shambly zombie speed, right? Not like hardly moving, but, slow zombie. And I know we live in a world with fast zombies. Once upon a time, zombies were slow. Night of the Living Dead zombies. The greater zombie moves at human speed, 12. Lesser is hit dice 2, which is zombie hit dice, honestly. The greater gets 4. To hit AC 0 for the lesser is 19, while the greater gets a 17. The lesser gets 1 attack, the greater gets 2. The lesser does 1d3 fist, or by weapon, for its attack damage, while the greater gets a d6 fist and another d6 fist, or by weapon. So, it can wield weapons. Special attack, the lesser gets a jolt that causes 1d6, while the greater gets a jolt that causes 2d6. They shuffle their feet a lot. Special defenses, immune to some spells. That's all the case for the lesser and greater. Magic resistance, nil. They don't get magic resistance. Their size is medium, 6 foot tall, humanoid. Morale elite, 13. Unusual for this kind of creature that they have a fairly breakable morale. XP value for the lesser is 270, and for the greater, 420. Lightning zombies are undead creatures created when the bodies of dead humans, demi-humans, or humanoids are bathed in exceptionally strong magical auras. A lightning zombie looks just like a normal member of its race, except that its skin is uniform light gray, which, I mean, it looks more blue in the art. Otherwise, they appear much as they did when alive. They can speak and are often hyperactive in their mannerisms. In darkness, they give off a faint glow. Lightning zombies have a flair for the dramatic. They prefer flashy clothing and jewelry. The more, the better. Well, I guess that is represented in the art. Imagine a zombie might stop and get clothing. Okay. Combat. Since they are undead, yes, they are undead, lightning zombies are immune to sleep, charm, and hold spells, death magic, and poisons. They're also immune to electrical attacks. Lightning zombies have 60-foot infravision. Quite often, undead of this type are also immune to cold, but in this case not, apparently. When attacking lightning zombies, roll for initiative normally. They can use a weapon or strike with one fist. In addition, all lightning zombies can have a special attack. Their bodies carry a strong electrical charge, and an unarmed lightning zombie can grasp an opponent and deliver a jolt of electricity. To deliver the jolt, lightning zombie must make a successful hand-to-hand attack and then hold on. The grasp itself does no damage, but a lightning zombie's hold is very strong, and the victim must make a successful open doors roll to break it. That'll be a strength type check. Starting the round after it has taken hold, the lightning zombie can discharge its jolt each round, automatically inflicting 1d6 points of damage. A lightning zombie cannot take other combat actions while using its special attack. However, the zombie can release bolts indefinitely until it decides to let go of its hold or is broken. Decides to let go or its hold is broken. Yes. Lightning zombies are turned as normal zombies, but a successful attempt at turning does not cause them to flee or be destroyed. Instead, the lightning zombie is unable to come closer than 10 feet to the character doing the turning. If already closer than 10 feet, it retreats to that distance. This effect lasts one turn, or until the turning character voluntarily breaks the effect by coming within 10 feet of the lightning zombie. A vial of holy water inflicts 2d4 points of damage if it strikes a lightning zombie. So it inflicts pretty normal holy water damage to an undead creature. But the turn being practically negated is very interesting, especially considering these can be wielding weapons, and they are not explicitly prohibited from using any kind of missile weapon. Since they have a certain amount of intelligence, I would kind of expect it. Balance that towards your party, but, these are zombies. So, they're good for lower level parties in general, but that jolt... that jolt could kill people, and hey, this is a pretty hazardous kind of game to play at this, even in the second edition. Habitat/society. Lightning zombies retain no memories or class abilities from their former lives, as the spirits that inhabited them have already departed. Nevertheless, lightning zombies are faintly aware that they once had different identities. Most of them remember waking up, wearing strange clothes. They pick new names for themselves and set about trying to perform mighty deeds of combat and adventure so they can have something to boast about. Imagine a party of lesser lightning zombies. That would be interesting. They're neutral. They're not evil, but they are undead and unnatural, right? And they could be equipped with arms, possibly armor, if you're wanting to bend it that way. Their natural armor class is 8, and maybe the electricity is like, they don't play well with like metal armor, right? But that doesn't mean they couldn't necessarily wear a bit of leather, right? Ecology. Lightning zombies have no need to eat, drink, sleep, or eat. These qualities make them excellent guards. Unfortunately, they yearn for heroic adventure and soon get bored with most tasks. Unless they are destroyed, they can live forever, as the magical energies that created them preserve their flesh. So, if they were a fairly intact body when they were zombified, yeah, they won't. You won't. Basically, just like the fact that they're overdosing on colloidal silver is the only clue until the crackle of electricity happens, or the fact they glow in the dark a bit, right? Um, I guess you would. There are signs, but they aren't brain-eating zombies, right? Weird to have them do like, you know what? I'm tired of guarding this door. I'm gonna go and seek adventure, right? Uh, Grand dreams of a undead creature. Greater lightning zombie. These creatures are created when powerful character or leader dies and the body is exposed to awesome magical energies. Awesome magical energies. Any lesser lightning zombie created along with it is under the greater lightning zombie's control if it was subordinate to the greater lightning zombie in life. So that's a connection to the previous identity. A greater lightning zombie usually has 2d6 lesser lightning zombies attending it. Greater lightning zombies generally have a thirst for power and seek to extend their dominion over everything they see. They can attack with both fists, and their blows are more potent than that of a lesser lightning zombies. Their electrical jolts inflict 2d6 points of damage. Greater lightning zombies are turned as shadows. A vial of holy water inflicts 1d4 plus 1 points of damage when it strikes a greater lightning zombie. So they are also a bit holy water resistant. It doesn't mention about the turning, but I would imagine it is the same. And hey, there's a very interesting evil party. And they're setting up shop in a ruin and trying to take control of some area, right? Yeah, that could be fun. You have the evil greater lightning zombie that controls, say, 8 minion lesser lightning zombies that are a cadre in charge of committing heroic deeds in their own selfish self-interest of the greater lightning zombie, defeating certain monsters in the area and just establishing their own little independent fief. I like it. I like it a lot. I think that's handy. Now, in game context and game world setting context, the Wrath of Immortal setting is a controversial place to be, and it involves a lot of immortal magic, and so this is highly unusual, these creatures. But you know what? You can do what you like. You're the DM. Make use of these as you will. How these are created is up to you. Maybe there's a magical source. Maybe there's some kind of radiance. Maybe there are wizards that have created them and have since been defeated or have let them be free or have since died. Since they can live indefinitely. The wizard may have created them to be their servants hundreds of years ago, and now they are free to do as they will. Again, feel free to use your ideas, let your mind wander. That's the part of the fun of the game, right? For the DM. So, we're going to finish out the book now, and that means moving into the Mystara encounter tables. There are literally 5 pages dedicated to encounter tables here in the book, and they include monsters that are found in the regular Monstrous Compendium, right? And so you'll need that in addition to this book. Now, that's not strange, really, because really you shouldn't be buying this book without also having the Monstrous Compendium or something like it, right? Monster Manual, maybe, if you prefer a previous edition. Or maybe you're relying on the monsters in the Dungeons and Dragons books, right? Like the Cyclopedia. there will be some equivalents in many of the monsters that are general, type monsters that are listed on the tables. This will also introduce the monsters from this book into these tables for the various environments that are listed. So I'm not a huge fan of pre-made generic random encounter tables, but you do you. As you can see here on our first page of tables, we have various environments, right? So it says here, find the appropriate table and roll 2d10. These are from 2 to 20. You don't roll a d20, although you could roll a d20, just re-roll the ones, really. They stuck to this bit so much that some of the entries have a couple or even more of repeats or just DM special, which you'll still need to come up with yourself. Which kind of, in my opinion, slightly defeats the purpose of having a pre-made random encounter table that's supposed to be generic for terrain. Again, now, a thing about a random encounter is that it doesn't automatically have to be a combat encounter or be hostile, right? It could be, some of the monsters are definitely going to be hostile, but you could, the party could encounter the monster could encounter the party. They could just, an encounter, like a case I used an example for, like, say, a dragon, right? Your third level party has a random encounter because they're out and about in the Martian swamp, and we roll a black dragon. Well, ain't that their bad day? Well, the dragon could just not take an interest in the party or not notice the party. It could be flying overhead in the distance, right? And that should put enough of a shiver through your party to maybe not want to engage with the dragon, possibly to hide until it is departed. But, they can just see it. They don't actually need to fight it. They don't need to die that day, and you need to start your party all over again. Although, if your party being what it is, they want to fight it. Let's have fun, right? Let's use an example here of, say, a pretty typical environment, temperate plains, right? So, that's what this one here, for those of you following along at home visually. Temperate plains on a 2, so you rolled 1 twice on each d10, is a colt pixie, which was earlier in the book. 3 is a blue dragonfly. Yep, that was in here. 4 is a Rakasta. 5 is an adventurer. You'll need to make up an adventurer. 6, Caecilia. 7, bandit. You'll need to come up with a bandit. 8, hobgoblin / Thule. 9, herd animal. 10, merchant. 11, barbarian. Again, you got to make up these things. 12, grabgrass. Which, I kind of like the grabgrass on temperate plains, but, make sure it makes sense. 13 is an orc. 14 is an owl or giant. It's a giant owl or a giant eagle. 15 is a lupin. 16 is ant, giant. 17 is an archer bush. Well, I like that. 18 is a vampire rose. 19 is a red dragonfly. And 20 is a DM special. So, you'll need to do your prep work before trying to employ these tables. Let's move to the next page. As you can see, another page of encounter tables. This one has like temperate desert and temperate forest and subtropical hills and subtropical mountains. And then the next page, yet more tropical plains, tropical hills, tropical marsh. Then we move into the cold items, cold freshwater surface, cold freshwater depths, temperate freshwater surface, right? So it's the water encounters. And then, we're still not done. Page 126 is yet more encounters for more water encounters. where you in the freshwater move to the saltwater encounters, right? And then finally, our last page of encounters includes ruins at day and night, inhabited slash patrolled area, right? And that I don't know. Like if this was a proper human settlement town, this might be a bit wild, right? You know, you randomly encounter a vampire, a doppelganger, a boot, an alpha dwarf, sure, a were-rat lycanthrope, mandrake, noble, adventurer, merchant, patrol, bandit slash brigand, halfling, lycanthrope, wereboat, werebore, werewolf, mujina, garden imp, planar spider. That's a bit different. And then 2 DM specials, right? We have the aerial encounter table, the subterranean encounter table, and then the DM special Arctic slash temperate and DM special subtropical tropical. Where, like, the Arctic temperate one has lightning zombie, gold dragon, golem, nightshade, pseudo dragon, guardian naga, imps, planar spider slash imp, a famous NPC. Hazard comes up twice. And these have little subnotes, which are in the notes here. So, one is giant owls are encountered only at night. Giant eagles are encountered only during the day. 2 creatures listed together and separated by a slash each have an equal 50% chance of appearing. 2, the DM chooses the actual type of creature. So that's like, for example, under golem, you would select what kind of golem. Clay, flesh, iron, whatever you like, right? 3 is bats are encountered only at night. Hawks are encountered only during the day. 4, a hazard is any potentially dangerous object or environmental condition. A few examples are given below. Environmental hazards generally last 2d6 hours. So you have icebergs, slow movement, may damage or sink ships. Blizzard, reduces visibility, doubles chances for getting lost. Thunderstorm, exposed characters must make a successful saving throw versus paralyzation each hour or be struck by lightning. Wow, that is a lot of lightning, because that's 66 points of damage. You failed your paralysis saving throw, and so you got hit by lightning. I don't know about you, but I don't think, people get hit by lightning admittedly every day, but boy, do I not know anyone who ever got hit by lightning. Fog, reduces visibility. Quicksand, check versus intelligence or begin to drown. Oh, old school quicksand here, trying to take you down. Gale, ships check seaworthiness and are blown 10d10 miles off of course in a matter of 2 to 6 hours. Sandstorm, exposed characters suffer 1d3 points of damage per hour. So, at least that one you could just shelter and see it through, right? Get behind a rock, promontory, something to get the sand from basically sandblasting you away. Avalanche, make a successful saving throw versus breath weapon or suffer 3d6 points of damage and be buried. Buried creatures check versus wisdom to free themselves. Just wow, right? But that's it for our pages of encounter tables. We now have the back page here where, more copyright information, Random House, that kind of stuff. The U.S. and British offices. Nice little piece of art here. And then our back cover. Monstrous Compendium Appendix by John Nephew, John Terra, Skip Williams, and Tywin Woodruff. Rare dragons, wondrous giants, bizarre humanoids, For years, such creatures have filled classic Dungeons & Dragons campaigns set in the world of Mystara, along with the exotic hive brood, Rakasta, Thaul, and many more. Now, for the first time ever, more than 100 of Mystara's unique and most popular creatures have been developed and defined in AD&D game terms. This must-have volume will delight and horrify players of the new A&D Mystara campaign, as well as any fan of the all-time favorites within. $18 US originally, $10.99 UK, because the exchange rate used to favor the pound quite considerably, $23 Canadian. Bought at a thrift store for $17.95 once upon a time. Yeah. That completes our episode today. If you have thoughts, please drop them below. I'm happy to hear them. You got insights, ideas? I want to say thank you ever so much for watching this and listening to this series. Your likes, your subscriptions, your comments, they mean ever so much to me. And they've helped me see my way through 46 weeks of recording this, because that's what I do. This once a week. I've been doing it. Through sick, through health, and I apologize greatly for the sick, because certainly my voice was a bit shot at one point, one or two videos, and certainly a cough exists in my life that, I'm over 50 years old. And part of me I used to talk in my employment full day, 8 hours, talking to people all day long. Now my voice gets tired if I do this for even an hour. And it agitates my throat. My lungs get poor. Things happen along the way in your life, and sometimes they have lasting consequence. I'm glad that I can do this with you. And again, I'm deeply sorry about some of the coughs that are in some of the videos, because certainly I had failed to reach for the mute button in time. And I had set out to do this series completely unedited, and that's what it is. Our next series, if you're watching these in real time, will be, I believe, on the Expert box set. That is my plan, although I am tempted to do Night of the Living Dead as a Halloween series, at least for a bit, just for the month of October, as it is currently mid-September. We'll see how I feel about it. There's a lot of reading in Night of the Living Dead, and that might be too much of a challenge for me. Meanwhile, the Expert box set is a book and a module, and we might not do the module, but I would break it up like I did this. Anyhow, that's enough of that. This is not really what you're tuned in for right now. And I wanted to just say thank you. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic day. Goodbye.